Because so many people, as they're scaling, they're growing these businesses, a lot of times feel like they have to be the ones to end up being the guy to do the job. In reality, you aren't meant to be the guy to do the job, or there's going to be someone out there that's even better than you.
Welcome to the Ecom Breakthrough Podcast. Are you ready to unlock the full potential and growth in your business? You've already crossed 7 figures in sales, but the challenge is knowing how to take your business to the next level.
Welcome to the Ecom Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Hadley, where I interview the top business leaders in e-commerce. Past guests include Kevin King, Aaron Cordovez, and Michael E. Gerber, author of The E-Myth. Today, I'm speaking with Garland Sullivan. He's the co-founder of Atlas Brands, and he is going to be sharing the lessons that he has learned as they have scaled up their brand and have sold over a total of $100 million in revenue. This episode is brought to you by Ecom Breakthrough, where I specialize in investing in and scaling 7-figure e-commerce companies to 8 figures and beyond. If you're an ambitious e-commerce entrepreneur looking for a partner who can help take your business to the next level, I bring hands-on experience, strategic insights, and the resources needed to fuel your growth. So if you or someone you know is ready to scale, they're looking for a coach or a consultant, reach out to me directly at josh@ecombreakthrough.com. That's ecom with 2 M's, and let's turn your dreams into reality. Today, I am super excited to introduce you all to Garland Sullivan. He is a close friend of mine, and Garland and his business partners have been building the next generation of CPG brands with the company that he co-founded, Atlas Brands. They have sold over $100 million in revenue with over 5 million units sold. It's truly an amazing journey from reselling products to building multiple 8-figure brands. So with that introduction, welcome to the show, Garland.
Well, Josh, man, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here. To be on the podcast with you is great. And I'd love to share as many things as I possibly can to help you and your audiences get better in the e-commerce space.
Well, Garland, I'm honored to have you on the show. And where we both first met was at AMZ Innovate last fall.
Yes, sir.
And you and I were pitted up to each other in the final hat contest. And I'm going to say you're the one who actually won out, and I got the consolation second place finish.
I don't know
there.
about that. I don't know about that.
It was you and I.
That is very true. We ended up getting to share the prize, so I'd say we both won at the end of the day, and it was great to share those hacks. I think the simple thing is mine was simple, yours was a little bit more complicated, and but probably yours was way more valuable than mine.
Well, you're
it's all
just
about
talking
execution, though. All about execution.
Hey, well, while we're on that note, right? Well, obviously, I think both of us realized, all right, this dude's wicked smart. Like, we should have a further conversation after this. So, Garland, let's kick things off before we dive into your story. Why don't you share the hack, if you remember the hack that you shared there?
For sure.
Share the hack that won at the AMZ Innovate Hack Contest.
Sure. So one of the hack that I shared is around the ability of knowing and how to using current groups that are already built. And there's a ton of infrastructure. There's tons of people staying in these groups on Facebook, and all these people that created these groups, they don't really understand the value of them. And so I recently, or my partner, reached out to a group for our industry. We're in the oral care space, and just reached out to this dental and hygienist group to see if the owner would be willing to sell it. And you'd think that like a group of dentists and dentist hygienists or registered hygienists would be a very valuable group. It'd be there was 20,000 people. It was active every single day, tons of comments, and man, like you'd think that group would be worth, $10, $20, $30,000. Well, I mean, we threw out $3,000 and they said, hey, we'd love for you to buy our group. so we purchased this group with now 20,000 hygienists and dentists that we can easily tap into, build a relationship with, and now have them as our spokesperson for our products. And so that was our hack. Since then, I've actually had a lot of friends reach out and say that they've bought a bunch of groups in their industry, and I've actually had friends buy million plus people groups for like anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000.
Dude,
So all you do is reach out to the admin of the group. Hi, my name is Garland. I'm interested in buying your group. Would you be interested in selling? And that's all you do. And you just wait, see if they're interested. If they're interested, great. If not, oh, you say, okay, great. How can we find a way to partner? And see what they say.
simple as that. And
Simple as
then
that.
you've got, I mean, imagine trying to go find, like, go fill, like in Dallas, right? Go fill the American Airlines Center with 20,000 people that are my perfect, like, target audience, right? Or brand advocates for this specific product. Like, to be able to do that for $3,000, right? Like, that's the power that's within that. So I loved it. Very straightforward. And there's a lot of power behind that. And, you know, Garland, I know that that's been a component of why you guys are just exploding right now on Amazon, so much so that your biggest pain point is like, I can't keep enough stock in stock. Has that been helpful for you?
It's starting to now. We honestly haven't spent too much time with the group because of our stock outages. So it's kind of been on the back burner at the moment, but I'm definitely looking forward to really pushing that in probably Q2, Q3 this year.
Love it. Well, Garland, why don't we? So let's rewind the tapes here. So you're dominating in the Amazon space right now. You're a veteran, I'd call it, right? You've been around the block a time or two on Amazon, and you have aspirations of building nine-figure brands, and that's the vision of where you're going. So why don't you walk people through, like, what has it taken for you to get to where you are today? And maybe what are some of the lessons that you have learned? Because there's been some valuable lessons as I've learned about your story that you could share with other people to make sure that maybe they can try to avoid making the same mistakes that you made along your journey of scaling and striving for that goal of going to nine figures.
For sure. So I'll start the story back when we first started selling on Amazon. It was part-time in college in 2013. So 12 years ago, which is wild, makes me feel old. And started the Amazon journey then, didn't have any money, and we were just doing retail arbitrage primarily, basically buying things in the store for cheap, selling it for more on Amazon. And it was a lot of fun. It was like we were professional shoppers. We'd go in, scan the barcode, instantly see how many other people are selling it, how much are we buying for, put in the number, and then you instantly see how much profit you're making and what your return on investment would be. And you could also tell how quickly the product would sell, basically. And so it was a lot of fun. Every day you'd be on a treasure hunt and say Ross, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, buying these products and then flipping them online for a profit. But like I said, we didn't have any money. So as a broke college kid would do, we would pull up a bunch of tabs for credit cards, apply for 10 different credit cards within 30 seconds, get approved, and then end up having with like a stack of 20 plus cards with like zero annual fee, no APR for the first 6 to 18 months, and it would have like $1,000 per card. So we had like 25 grand roughly to start our business between 12 different credit cards. And sure enough, it did work out. After the first 90 days, we broke even, and kind of the rest is history. Within the first year, we broke $1 million in revenue. The next year, we more than doubled. The next year, we more than doubled. The next year, we more than doubled. And along the way, we've definitely had some hurdles. And I like Josh said, like, what's one of the biggest learning lessons? And I would say the fastest way to grow is to basically fail fast, so that way you know how to fix those things moving forward. So many people, as they're scaling, they're growing these businesses, a lot of times feel like they have to be the ones to end up being the guy to do the job. in reality, you aren't meant to be the guy to do the job, or there's going to be someone out there that's even better than you. So, for example, when we're scaling our retail arbitrage business, I know that I'm not the best shopper in the world, but I know that there are some moms out there who love to shop at Ross, TJ Maxx, and Marshalls every day with a smile on their face, spending other people's money, uh, and love doing it. And so, for example, I have to realize I'm not the best person for this job, but I know how to do it, and I can hand it off to someone who can do it better than me. That's the way you scale. You have to realize that there's people better than you out there that can do the job better than you. And so many people get caught in that. It's almost like a control thing, an ego thing, where they have to be the people or the person. And in reality, that's just not the case. You need to give those keys over to someone else. Have checks and balances in place for them, but letting go is the biggest thing that holds people back so many times, time and time again.
I love that. I think that is a really important principle learned there, right? Even as simple as in a business of retail arbitrage, which I'm going to ask you, like, okay, so what were maybe some of those first hires in that role? And then how did that pivot into your private label brands eventually? But before we get to that point, Garland, everything that you just talked about letting go of control and being able to try to figure out ways to replace yourself, right? I think every 6 months, one of the most valuable things that an entrepreneur can do or business owner is to do a time study. And every 6 weeks, you figure out, what am I actually working on in the business? And then try to batch those tasks together and be like, wow, it's a lot of supply chain related tasks. Okay, if that's the case, then that's the role you need to hire for. Then your bucket's going to get filled up with something else next 6 months. Now try to outsource that. Maybe it's product research and development. Maybe it's the finances of the business. Maybe it's, PPC, listing optimization, you name it. Like, you just continue to level up by putting more on your plate and then taking all of those things that you put on your plate back off your plate. My favorite book and my favorite kind of quote from it is from Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time, which is, hey, if somebody can do this 80% as well as you can, then get it off your plate, right?
Yes.
And he said this,
exactly.
Something done 80% as well as you is 100% awesome. And I just love that quote, right? It's like 80% done as well as you could is 100% awesome. So I think that's just the principle there.
Yes. I can't agree any more than that. That's a great book. I love Dan Martell. He's done an excellent job with that book, and it really breaks it down. If you haven't read it, definitely read it.
Yeah, love it. So Garland, take us back then. So maybe what were some of those roles that you hired for retail arbitrage, or did you just immediately pivot into private label? When did that transition occur?
So we stayed in the arbitrage game for quite some time, and it kind of levels up as you go. So starting out with retail arbitrage, first people we hired was a person in our garage at the time, just to take all the labels off, pack them in poly bags, put them in the right place, ship it off to Amazon FBA, and that was kind of our first hire. Then we went into bringing on more shoppers, basically, and warehouse people, scaled into larger warehouses, and that was kind of our next growing phase. And then we basically continue to scale that from just retail arbitrage and online arbitrage, and then into wholesale and closeout sales. And then finally in 2019, we decided, you know what, we should really go into private label. We're seeing all of our friends basically start from scratch and in 2 years sell for multiple millions of dollars. And we're like, what are we doing? We can't just build a retail arbitrage business and sell it for a bunch of money one day. Yes, you can make money doing it, and yes, you can work it, but does that actually lead to an exit of some kind? And that was kind of our aha moment. What are we doing with our lives? We need to actually concentrate on creating value and coming up with something that is going to be hopefully sold one day. And so that was kind of our big pinch me moment, wake up call, like what are we doing? Let's figure this out. So we went into private label, and private label what ended up being one of the best decisions we ever did. You don't have to deal with nearly as many employees and headaches that you have with retail arbitrage, dealing with warehouse people, dealing with shoppers, people potentially stealing from you. I mean, I mean, yes, you can have that happen in private label too. I'm not saying that, but it's just like it's the door is open for those things to happen a lot easier in retail arbitrage, as an
I think
example.
it's also more scalable too, right? Like
Much
you can
more.
scale faster, right? Because like you're limited by the amount of like retail stores next to you, right? Or you're starting to go, all right, national, we got shoppers in every state and in every
Yeah.
city. And like that's the way you have to scale that. And then the business model is nothing more than like getting really good at identifying shoppers in those local areas, teaching them your system. It is a different business model compared to like, hey, can I find ideas on Amazon, find the manufacturer, and just click the reorder button, reorder, send it into FBA, right? It's
I mean, you're making it sound
different.
really easy,
It
Josh.
is. That's it, right? And we all just sit on the beach, right?
Yeah,
And
we
we
just
just
sit
are
on the beach,
loving
have a
life.
cocktail, relax, and
Uh,
that's all we do. We just hit reorder. That's all we gotta do.
but
Um,
what? But I say that though too because what's interesting about your story is similar to myself. Is my wife and I started our business in the wedding stationery business. Now we were successful there. I mean, we were bringing home net profit well over a couple $100,000, right? And at that time, like that was really good for us. Like we were brand new entrepreneurs. But I realized for us, like in order to scale, like my wife's time, we had a 6 month waiting list just to work with my wife because she was the graphic designer for all of those wedding invitations. I knew from a business standpoint, because I had more people that I could sell, but I could not fulfill them. So I was like, the only way to scale this thing out is to go hire more graphic designers and go try to copy and paste my wife.
mhm.
That's much easier said than done. But I think, and Alex Hormozy does a great job of framing this up, right? The grass is always greener in somebody else's business,
For sure,
right?
always.
And when you look at that, right, like every business model has its hard, right? You can look at like a local HVAC company and you're like, these guys' website is trash. Like this would be so easy if I were to step into it. And it's like, well, guess what? Their constraint is not necessarily marketing. They've probably got more customers than they need. Their constraint is having enough technicians. So
Yeah.
your constraint of the business is actually focused on like, how do we get really good at recruiting people out of high school, training them up so that they can become our technicians? Because the only way we scale and we service more clients is if we have more technicians. So like you can just see
Hmm.
like in every business, right? Whether you're in the services industry or even retail arbitrage, whatever it is, right? Like you're going to have your hard. There's always going to be a constraint in every business. And I think that the important point here is when you hit those breaking points, that means that's the concrete wall that you need a sledgehammer through. Because when you sledgehammer through that wall, now you're off to the races and you're going 10 times faster. That's where the scale happens. But most people give up after a couple swings at that concrete wall. They give up. They're like, this is too hard. This HVAC business acquiring and thing looks 10 times easier. I'll bring my digital marketing skills there. And it's like, your digital marketing skills don't mean a lot over here, to be honest with you. So, anyways, I think just like a interesting principle to boil down is like all of us kind of have an aha moment, but it is finding something that is more repeatable, more scalable. And it is true. Like that's what e-commerce does allow. It is a very scalable opportunity. So, Garland,
For
maybe
sure.
let's go back to that story then. So like how did you decide what niche you were going into, what vertical? This is right before COVID as well. So I think like good timing either for the positive or downside as well there. So tell us more.
For sure. So when we finally made the decision to move away from the arbitrage business, we basically focused on private label. And at the time, we didn't really know anything about building a brand or like anything around that idea of like creating something that is like unique to itself at the time we just came up with a random name we could put literally anything. Like, think of great value. Great value, you have great value is literally anything. Like, if you go to Walmart, they have a million different items under the great value brand. So our idea was very similar. Come up with a name that you can throw anything underneath it, and now it's great value, basically. And so we started out with that model in the private label space, and it worked really well. I mean, we had very strict criteria on one, competition, also on ROI. Those were our kind of like our two main metrics as we were looking at markets, is identifying low competition, and we'd have different formulas for how we establish that. And then we have how much money are we going to end up profiting on each sale. And then this is usually after ad spend. And if you like today's world, ad spend is way more than it was back in 2019. When we were in the space early on, our tacos were probably around 4 to 5%, and I would say our tacos are now 14 to 15%. So that's a significant change over time. But that's what we really focused on, and it really helped us at the forefront focus on how quickly we could get that cash back to reinvest into new products. Whereas a lot of people miss that and forget about that. And I can't stress this enough. So the one thing that in business where a lot of people overlook is how quickly you may be making a lot of money on a product, and it's a great ROI, but it may take a long time to sell it. And so it may take a long time to get that cash back in your hands and now reinvest into either that same product to get more of it, or into other products to bring more to market. So the key is, how quickly can you bring that cash back to you? And that is your considered your cash conversion cycle. That's what you really need to be looking at to see how quickly you can scale on what your current state is. So you want to get your cash conversion cycle as low as possible. Ideal in a perfect world, you would get all your money back before you even have to pay for your inventory, basically. That would be a perfect case scenario. Not very likely to happen, but I'm just saying that would be really nice.
Yeah. I think it is true, though. I love how you prioritize products that had the highest ROI and shortest payback period, right? Because I think that's what's essential when anybody is scaling. Looking back, I intuitively did that for our business, but I didn't write that down on a piece of paper, right? Like, intuitively, I was making those decisions, which is why we were able to scale so quickly as soon as we went on to Amazon as well. It was like 1 million our first full year on Amazon, 3.5 million the next year, because it was like, oh, okay, let's go into this space. Low MOQ, relatively low COGS, high ROI, go, rinse and repeat. Like, how fast can I just turn this? And then you're just like, the cash comes in and you just keep reinvesting into bigger and bigger bets. But you've got to have I think what you hit on, you've got to have a prioritization list of products. And that's also like, I think that's what business strategy is, right? It's like, there are unlimited product opportunities that you can get into on Amazon. Like, in your lifetime, you could never actually launch a product into every single niche. Like, it's just not like fathomable, right? There's not enough time in the day. So with that being said, what you have to get really good at is prioritizing. Which of the unlimited options do you want to prioritize so that you can bring more cash in, have the highest ROI, and scale?
So that's a great segue, because hearing our story, our goal was just to launch anything and everything. And it got to the point where it was like we had the Midas touch syndrome. Anything we touched was going to be successful. In reality, that's just not the case. And we pivoted away from our bread and butter of like what works and why. Just to touch on that one last time, is we would really look for products that you buy for $1. And as an example, a 10-to-1 ratio is like the right way to look at it. Buy for $1, sell for 10. Or if you're selling a $100 item, you buy for $10, you sell it for $100 items. or $100 as an example. And so I can't stress that enough, because that now leaves so much room for Amazon fees. Then you have advertising. Then you have if you were to push it outside of Amazon, you have lots of room for you to still make money after all these different expenses. So I really stress that 10-to-1 ratio. If you can find it, stick to it, and try to use that as your go-to threshold for everything that you do moving forward.
Yeah.
It's hard. Those are hard to find. I'm not saying that's an easy thing to do. I'm more so that's what it takes to get to be in a really good position, basically. So as we grew, we realized we're not creating any value with these random products that are random private label products under this great value brand. So how do we choose what to focus on? Like what you just said, Josh, is what we did is we looked at this brand and was like, okay, so we have a bunch of oral care products that have a ton of reviews. I mean, we crossed 100,000 reviews on several of our SKUs. I mean, that's a lot of reviews. So let's focus on those. So we took our top selling SKUs and basically branded those to specific new brand. And we did that for two brands primarily. We have an oral care brand and we have a skincare brand. And those are now our main focus. Everything else is just used as cash flow. And that whole process took so much time and effort. So we went the very, I would say, the boutique brand route, where we hired the branding agency from New York, spent a ton of money on coming up with the name, the feel, the look, everything. And then we implemented, our whole that branding feel for those products. The next thing we did, so that we spent way too much money on. I mean, that was very, very expensive, and probably one of those moments where it was a gut punch to your stomach on spending that amount of money on a rebrand of products. But at the end of the day, it was very, very, very much worth it. Fortunately, after going through that process, we were able to copy, or basically re-engineer that same process for our skincare brand, so that way we could do it in-house and we wouldn't have to pay the agency. So that's the route that we went for the skincare brand, and it's now definitely paid off big time. With our branding, after our first retail show, we landed 300 something doors on just our oral care brand. We're likely to land about 10,000 doors after our first retail show for our skincare brand. And I can't stress enough how important just the branding is. The people that walk in the door, or the people that come by your booth, need to be wowed. You need to stand out from a perspective like, oh, I could see that on the shelf. Oh, I could see myself have that in my bathroom next to my toothbrush on my sink, looking nice. These are all things that you have to think of as you're coming up with your brand, your identity, what it means, how it's actually going to feel for the customer as they pick it up and touch it every single day.
Yeah. I think that, there's a lot that I want to dive into there, Garland, because now you're talking this is now a whole omni-channel approach. That's what I find interesting about your journey is all right, started on retail arbitrage, went the private label route that I think most brands started with, which was just I don't know, it doesn't really matter. I just need to throw some brand name onto some generic product and I can make money. And you found those niches. Then you transition to, okay, the Amazon game is shifting. I need to be an actual brand owner. You spend a crap load of money on actual branding. And then you're like, hey, and also we're bigger than Amazon, right? So how do we actually turn this thing into, it's not just making money on Amazon, we're actually building a brand. So Garland, maybe walk me through that evolution, because I feel like that's where most entrepreneurs are currently stuck right now. The world of Amazon is changing. It has never been harder than it is today to launch a new brand on Amazon, especially if you're a Me Too product, right? Like you're like fighting up a massive uphill battle.
For sure. And
Margin
you're only a matter of
compression.
time before
Yeah.
someone finds that opportunity and knocks you off for cheaper, and it's a race to the bottom. So uh, I think that this has become a super hot topic to talk about, and something that people are really kind of worried about and concerned about in the future of selling on Amazon. In reality, if you're going to continue to be really, really good at just Amazon, you have to focus on just continuing to launch products all the time and know that it's only a matter of time until that product gets knocked off for cheaper than you. It's just that's what you're going to have to accept. You're going to go into a niche that has that you see a way to add value to it. You know, add a couple accessories. You may have multiple different size options in your bundle that is more value, and you sell it for the same price as the top competitor, and
Different
then
colors.
different color. Yeah, exactly, and it ends up going really well for the first 3 to 6 months, maybe even a year, and then next thing you know, you have a ton of competitors doing the exact same thing, if not more, and more than you. And I mean, it's happening across the board, across multiple different categories, all the time. And so, if the world of just being able to launch products on Amazon, sit back and relax, and go to the beach and have a cocktail is long gone. Like it's now a constant. Okay, I'm launching this opportunity, or I'm going to stay. If I'm staying in the private label mindset, I'm going to find this opportunity, this niche looks good, launch products, continue to launch products that are in that or in either that space or in another space that fits that same criteria, and just know that it's only a matter of time until it gets saturated. So that really pivoted to the thought of like, okay, how do we create real value? And like, I can't thank enough being part of different communities such as MDS, just because it's amazing seeing what people have built. I mean, there's several brands that I'm now are my buddies that have built 9-figure companies, um, and I got to see them do it from zero. I mean, they were doing just like a couple, maybe 100 grand a month when I first met them, and now they're doing 500 grand a day kind of deal, which is incredible to think about. And so, yeah, that was kind of our, like, one of the biggest aha moments is like, okay, wait, so there's a way to get to a huge exit, and one of the first companies to really get a massive exit that started as an Amazon brand was Zesty Paws, which is a dog supplement company. And this company sold for, I think, just over $600 million, if I'm not mistaken, and started on Amazon. And they did a great job on their branding. They were early into the dog supplement space, so I can't stress enough on like making sure whichever market that you go into is the right market for XYZ. Like, does it fit those ratios from a cost to sale ratio? Does it fit the how much competition there is? Is there a bunch of nasty competitors in this space? Are there a bunch of fake reviews? These are all things that you have to look into as you're going into these different markets. But once you choose that market and you build a brand, it's no longer, you can't just launch another random product. You have to keep it within that space, and that identity is now you. So that brand that you're bringing to market has to be cohesive. It has to be part of that umbrella. And so that you do end up, in a way, limiting your products that you're going to bring to market, because that's your niche. That's where you stand now. And so, but in order to get to those large exits of $600 million, like Zesty Paws, man, like they did such a good job of sticking in their niche, owning that market, and becoming the leaders of that market. So that's kind of where our head's at now, taking from our oral care brand and our skincare brand, and really be like going all in on it. I mean, don't step out of line, stay to who we are, use that model as, because our oral care brand is way different than our skincare brand. Our oral care brand is very much like more of a premium brand, premium price point, more expensive, whereas our skincare brand is uh, more of a value driven play. So completely different mindset on how we're going to position the brand publicly to people and why people would be driven to choosing each one. So really coming up with that brand identity is so important. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah. I think that branding does make a huge difference. And I think that the US consumer is getting smarter as well as they shop on Amazon, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
most people are getting tired of the Temu type crap that they buy on Amazon with the alphabet soup brand names that you can't even pronounce. I think people are starting to see through that for the most part. And so it really does like deter like how does your A plus content jive with your secondary images? And like you've got to be telling a cohesive story from the get-go. So I think like branding is super important, but Garland, I don't think you would say like that's where it ends, right? Even if you're like, oh, well, the way I build a moat around my business is not just by having pretty graphics on Amazon that allow you to be better than the overseas competitors. I think what you've done is you've started to take things off of Amazon and you're starting to build awareness off of Amazon, which is then leading to like right now, most people on Amazon, they're focused on demand capture. Oh, there's so many eyeballs searching up XYZ search term on Amazon. How do I scoop up some of those sales, right? Like that's demand capture. But I think what Zesty Paws did and what a lot of these brands that are going for 9-figure plus valuations are they've got demand generation that is focused off of Amazon. People are aware of their brand off of Amazon, and then it's
For sure.
driving increased purchases on Amazon. So tell me more about your guys' playbook with that, because I know you're currently doing going into retail. You also have D2C sites. So what does that transition look like for an Amazon seller that's only on Amazon right now, but they're like, yeah, I get it. Like the road does not look very pretty 5 years from now on Amazon if I just keep playing this private label brand stuff. Like it's
For
just going
sure.
to get harder.
Yes. So what we're seeing, and I'm sure you can speak to this too, Josh, is when you change the mindset from private label to now brand, and you're now in the private label space, you don't go to the effort to basically start pushing, you know, ads to a landing page to push your product on to your own D2C um, website or landing page. You don't do that with private label. You do that with a brand, because now that person that you're sending to your site, the goal, at least our goal right now, is to break even on our funnel. So for example, if they see our ad on Instagram or on Meta in general, and after our ad spend and our cost of goods, and we're breaking even, the amount of eyeballs that we're now getting on our brand, on our products, is incredible. And so what we do is we start tracking, okay, so we're pumping ads, we're at this break even point. We're not making money necessarily on the D2C side, profit wise, but we see the profit come in on Amazon when people start searching for our brand name. So what we'll do is we'll track as we pump traffic to our landing pages and our site, we'll see our brand name or brand search increase on Amazon. And that's our way of seeing how many people are coming to our Amazon products from our D2C or ads outside of Amazon, as an example. The next thing that we're doing at the same time, so we started this whole initiative with retail and D2C basically around the same time. The Then what we realized is you have to be available everywhere. You can't just be available on Amazon. You have to be available in Target, CVS, Walmart, Costco, wherever the consumer is where you need to be available, right? That's how you get people to recognize you as your brand. And so, all right, so where are my shoppers? Where are my my people that are buying my brand. And in reality, they're in all of those places. They're in Walmart, they're in Target, they're in CVS, they're in Costco. So where do I need to be to make sure that my customers, because my customer that goes to Walmart may not be the same customer that goes to Costco. And for us to capture those two different types of personas, we have to be in both places. Same with the idea of an Amazon shopper, or same with the idea of the person that likes to buy off of a Instagram ad. Each one of those people is different. And so we have to, as a brand, have to be available to everyone. We can't just be available in one place. It just doesn't make sense. We're never going to get to the growth that we want to be or want to achieve just selling on Amazon.
So how quick would you say, like, are you profitable on Shopify right now, or at least break even on Shopify? And how long did it take for you guys to get there? Because, building your brand on Shopify, like, that's no small feat, right? Like, there's people that understand the Amazon game, and it's like, I know how to sell on Amazon. It's all these quick ninja hacks and listings and launching products. Okay, that's one skill set. It's another completely different skill set to be able to crack the code of meta ads, going to a sales funnel, optimizing that sales funnel. Like on Amazon, we don't care about like CRO optimization, which is conversion rate optimization. You're limited. Like you're only focused on your main images and secondary images, maybe your bullets on Amazon. But like on the squeeze page, landing page on your own website, you're like, what happens if I change this button to green versus blue, etc. So walk me through what maybe it's a person you guys hired, right? We talked about hiring, which has been so key. So maybe walk me through that journey for you guys.
So we realized we weren't the experts anymore. So for example, we're Amazon people. That's our bread and butter. We've done well. We've scaled Amazon brand or private label products very well. We started creating brands, we established those, but we're like, oh, wait a second. We're going into two different areas, retail and D2C, which are not in our arsenal, not one of the partners that we like, this is our bread and butter. So we realized that and we're like, okay, wait, so we need to bring on some people that really know what they're doing. So we brought on a head of retail, and that was a great move. We tried the whole broker route. They promised the world, but in reality, they're not in the thick of it. They're not there pitching just you 24/7, and that's how they are basically incentivized by, or what they're incentivized by. So we brought on a head of retail, and that instantly got us into doors. But the retail game is slow. It's not like Amazon, where you can basically instantly get sales by listing your product on Amazon. D2C, we really kind of started that initiative this year, I would say like mid-January. Before we brought on a head of marketing in September of last year, but the main focus was TikTok. We did okay with TikTok, but I would say we've done a great job of like just exposure, going viral, but not consistent enough to where it was like, okay, we should spend more time and effort on this. So we pivoted our head of marketing, who is actually mainly a D2C background person. We put him in through the TikTok world, just because all of our peers are doing so well on, or I wouldn't say all. A couple people are doing really well on TikTok, and we were like, that was the shiny object at the moment. In reality, that's not where we should have spent that time and effort. We knew that D2C was going to be where we're building out landing pages, building out our websites, making sure that we're as optimized as possible and get to a break-even point, which we just got to. So we started in January. It took us, let's just say 2 months. A little less than 2 months to get to break-even point. And if you were to ask my head of marketing, like, what would you grade our flows, our landing pages, our website, he'd be like, yeah, it's like a 2 out of 10. And so that was more so just like, if you can get to break even at a 2 out of 10, once you spend the money on, getting properly optimized, great sexy page, making sure it's very much like as seamless as possible for the buyer. Like I would say a great example of a brand that has is a $1 billion brand that only has landing pages is AG1. AG1 has built $1 billion brand just on landing pages. You don't go to AG1's site to go buy their product. You see their ad on Meta or Instagram or wherever, and then it takes you to a page, and then you buy it from that page. It's not like you're searching ag1.com and going there. Now, yes, maybe after you buy it the first time, you might do that, or you get an email follow up saying, "Hey, it's time to reorder your shake." So there's so much that goes into D2C. So we found someone to basically run the whole thing, bootstrap it, and now since we got to the point where we're break even, we're bringing on reinforcements to media buyers next, and then also making sure that our creative is now much at a higher level than what it currently is. And these are all things that you kind of do as you enhance your pages and make them better and better. Back to retail though, it's not a fast thing. It takes like 1.5 to 2 years to get into these big box retailers because they have line reviews typically once or twice a year. So if you miss the line review, you're waiting a year. And then if you don't get it, you're going to have to pitch it again and wait until the next time too. And that's just the way it is. Especially like the larger locations. Now, sometimes they can do like a pop-up opportunity, or maybe potentially buy it and put it on their site for you. Like we just landed Target for both of our brands, and they're starting us out as purchasing our product and listing it on their site, not us ourselves listing it on their site. So that's an easy example as a potential opportunity.
Man, I love this, Garland. That there's so many golden nuggets that you shared along that way, and we could take a whole episode and dive into, your D2C strategy, your retail strategy, your Amazon strategy. But I think one of the important takeaways that I want to point out here, Garland, is the common thread here has been you guys have been able to prioritize your resources really, really well. And you mentioned it briefly, and maybe we'll wrap things up with this. You mentioned in hindsight, we probably should have prioritized D2C higher than we did TikTok. Although many people were talking about TikTok Shop and how great it was for their brands, we probably should have doubled down on Shopify faster than we did rather than go to the TikTok route. Why do you say that? And walk us through the mental models that you think through that maybe other entrepreneurs listening to this can apply into their own brand.
So this was just for our scenario. So this is not everyone. I would just say for us, we had some success with TikTok, but in reality, it wasn't sustainable success. We would find our products go viral even after we'd have a couple of viral hits, anywhere from a couple million to 10 million views, and then go and repeat those same videos because those are more likely to go viral again for other people using that same kind of script. And it would be a random, go viral, and then 30 days go by, nothing. And then another one would go viral, say a week later. So there was no consistency to it. And we were seeing some brands do exceptionally well on TikTok, really doing well. And we were like, hey, well, if they can do it, we can do it. In reality, something that I think that we need to do a better job of is really putting a line in the sand of saying, hey, okay, how much is the budget that we're going to put into this? And how long are we going to test this until it actually works? Now, certain people would say, you didn't give it enough time. Or, hey, in my opinion, I think we gave it plenty of time. We did it for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years, of really trying to crack the code on TikTok. And that's from different services, building out our own team. There was a lot of moving parts in it. So I think we gave it a lot of time and effort, and to the point where it was too much time and effort. But I can't stress enough, like you should have a bucket of funds that you can use as exploratory, and that's your okay. Hey, I have $10,000. This is my exploratory fund bucket, and how much time and effort am I going to be putting in this to where like I would recommend going all in on it for like a certain amount of time, like say whatever you think is a reasonable amount of time to consider something all in, and that be your benchmark of okay, hey, I went all in, I talked to the best people, I tried exactly what they told me to do, and I attempted it for 3 to 4 weeks and I got no results. Okay, might be something that I'm just using 3 to 4 weeks. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, whatever that number is for you is what it should be. And for us, I think we spent a little too much time and effort before we pivoted, because I know the power of D2C based off of looking at other brands that have, I mean, you can look at the handful of brands that are successful on TikTok and it's probably like, let's say 100, but there's thousands upon thousands of different brands that are successful in D2C. So
Okay.
what ratio would you rather look at and be like, okay, which one is more likely for me to win? Sounds like the D2C side is like way more of an opportunity than say TikTok.
Yep. I love that. And I love what you talked about. Like you've got to have a bunch of funds and also allocate some time to go all in. You're right. Like if you go in and give it half effort, right? You're not going to actually know whether that test or that new channel is actually worth the time of day, right? So if you just go in there and you give it 10% effort, like you're going to get 10% of results, if not maybe 1% of results. And then you're going to be like,
100%.
this doesn't work for us. Screw TikTok Shop. It's like, well, dude, you didn't even optimize your listing on TikTok Shop. You never even sent out free samples to creators. So like, what did you expect, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that is like a really good principle, is like define a timeline. I think like 6 months in the e-commerce space is like, this is a long period of time to go all in, but do it in a scaled a scaled fashion where it's like, if you've got, let's say 100 SKUs, you don't need to bring all 100 SKUs to TikTok Shop to test it, right? Bring 2 or 3. And you're like, I'm going hard with these top 2 or 3 SKUs, and I'm going to follow the best strategies. I'm going to learn them. I'm going to follow them. I'm going to implement them. And I've got 100K budgeted for this, or whatever your budget is. It's like, we're all in on this for 6 months. And I think that within that period of time, you're either going to have inklings of success, or you're going to have inklings of like, ooh, this doesn't seem to be panning out. But if you don't do that, if you never try, you never know when you're just about to open up the next door that's just a massive flood of traffic for you, or a massive opportunity that then unlocks future opportunities for your business to be able to scale. So I think you summed it up really well there. Garland,
awesome.
As we wrap up this episode, I love to leave the audience with 3 actionable takeaways. So here are the 3 actionable takeaways that I noted, but you let me know if you think I'm missing something here.
All right.
So number 1, you as the entrepreneur or as the business owner need to be focusing on ROI in the business. And if you want to scale, let's say you're at that you're at the 7-figure mark, right? You're at $2 million. You want to scale up to 8 figures. If that's the case, what you need to be focused on is doubling down in the current business model that you have that is working. Garland, would you agree with this statement that like, I don't think that e-commerce entrepreneurs should start diversifying away from their proven sales channel until they're doing about $1 million a month in that channel, or hitting a $8 million a year, or sorry, a $10 million a year run rate in that specific marketplace or model. Like, agree or disagree on that?
Agree. I think the biggest thing that we like to go after is profit. So in my opinion, instead of looking at it from a revenue perspective, I like looking at it from a profit perspective. And I think a good number to use is $1 million profit. Ideally, if you're doing 10 million, you're doing well more than $1 million in profit. But my point is $1 million in profit is a good number before you start diversifying. Because
Yep.
right then is when you start having the money to like start investing in things that you weren't necessarily investing in before.
Yes, you hit the nail right on the head there. So number one is focus on the ROI. Whatever your proven business model is, right? If you got on TikTok Shop and you hit a 7-figure business on TikTok Shop, that's great. Keep doubling down on TikTok Shop till you're bringing in that $1 million per year in profit. Because action item number two is this. It's all about the who, not the how, right? And so we asked Garland, right? It's like, well, how did you have success on D2C? How are you having success in retail? Well, we brought in the head of retail. We brought in the head of D2C or marketing, and they're leading it. And the same thing applies to our business. So we finally started to uncrack Shopify for the first time. And again, it took us like a period of really probably like 9 months to really like crack the code. But it wasn't me. It was, I hired somebody really smart that had kind of been there, done that, and has been able to implement a lot of tests and got really creative with our brand to figure out a way to make it work, right? And so I think that is the principle. It is all about the who, not the how. It's not how do I do this as the entrepreneur. Again, you need to look at your time and how you invest your time accordingly. So it's the same ROI principle. And again, when you have that $1 million in profit, it's not for you to go purchase a bunch of real estate or a second home or a fancy car. It's for you to go reinvest and say like, all right, finally crack that code. Time to go hit Shopify. Crack that code. Time to go hit another one, right? And
Yep.
if you're willing to delay gratification and continue to reinvest in your business, that's where the 9-figure opportunities lie beyond that delayed gratification.
For sure. 100%.
My third and final action item here is being able to prioritize as the CEO or as a co-founder in a business. Like it all comes down to prioritization. We've talked about that numerous times. You have unlimited options for you to do or things that you could be doing in your business every day. Most entrepreneurs walk through and at the end of every day, they're like, wow, I was so busy today. I worked hard. I worked a 14-hour day. However, if you worked a 14-hour day dealing with Amazon seller support issues, just the barrage of emails in your email inbox, going back and forth with your manufacturer, negotiating prices for a product, right? Or getting products onto clearing customs and getting into FBA warehouses. Those are all, yes, important things, but guess what? They are not levers in your business that will move the needle for future revenue and profits in your business. And that is the principle here is like, as the CEO, you have to be focused on things that will actually, when you pull them, right, these are levers in your business that will unlock future growth. And so that may be finding new product opportunities. It may be finding a new sales channel to get into. And it may be uncovering retail or hiring the right person. Those are the things that you plant a seed now, you'll be harvesting the fruits of that 9, 12, even 18 months from now.
For sure.
Garland,
100%.
anything else that you feel like I missed there?
No, I think you nailed it. That was great.
Awesome. All right. So lightning round here. My 3 final questions I ask every guest. Number 1, what's been the most influential book that you've read and why?
Number 1 book in life is a tough one, but I would say in life, it's probably How to Win Friends and Influence People. Business book though is Good to Great.
Both great books. Both great books. Good recommendations. All right. What's your favorite AI tool or ChatGPT prompt that you've been using?
All right. So my favorite prompt on ChatGPT is I love listening. So I love looking at people that I admire. So for example, Alex Hormozy, or if I want an opinion on a book or a marketing basically outline for an idea, basically. I love ChatGPT to give me that outline as if Simon Sinek just made it. So, hey, I want you to give me this outline as if Simon Sinek wrote it. Give me this outline as Russell Brunson wrote it. Give me this outline as Alex Hormozy wrote it. And now you're getting the perspective of the best people in the world as if they were the ones telling you or making this outline.
Love that hack. Love that. Beautiful. Great idea. Third and final question. Who is somebody that you admire or respect the most in the e-commerce space that other people should be following, and why?
So there's many that come to mind. I'm gonna go with Logan from Physician's Choice, just because he has really done an exceptional job in a very, very short amount of time. He and his partner Ryan have developed this brand, Physician's Choice. When we met them, they were barely doing $1 million a year. Now they are well into the 9-figure mark, and they've done it in the last 6 or 7 years. I think it's absolutely incredible. I would say it might even be less than that. So I really don't know too many operators that have been able to scale that quickly to that type of evaluation. So I must give it to them. Hats off to Physician's Choice, Logan and Ryan. Good job, guys.
Love it. And yes, they are doing some incredible things there. So great recommendation. Garland, if people want to learn more about you, they want to follow Atlas Brands, they want to learn more of your wisdom, those knowledge bombs you've been sharing, where can people follow you and stay in touch?
Well, I think one of the best ways, if anyone wants to get in contact with me, please shoot me an email. My email is Garland, Garland, at atlasbrands.io. Atlas, ATLAS, brands, BRANDS.io. Feel free to reach out anytime. If you really want to get a hold of me, I'm willing to give up my cell phone number. No worries. 901-268-6988. Shoot me a text anytime. Happy to help.
Man, dropping some value here, Garland. So Garland's a great man. Definitely recommend somebody reach out and touch base with him. He knows what he's talking about. So Garland, thanks so much for your time today. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Josh, thanks for having me. It's been great to be here.
Thank you for listening. Visit ecombreakthrough.com for more information. If you've enjoyed today's episode, the best way you can show your appreciation is by clicking the subscribe button and quickly leaving a review. See you again next time.